harbor, turning the water into sheets of gold. The ocean majesty stood like a floating palace. Marble decks, mirrored windows, and a line of limousines snaking toward the boarding gates. Everyone walking that red carpet ramp was dressed to impress. Diamonds, linen suits, sunglasses worth more than a car. Among them moved Zuri Daniels, quiet, calm, wearing a simple beige sweater, jeans, and flats. She carried no designer luggage, no assistant trailing behind, just a single leather bag, and a presence that didn't beg to be seen. The security guard barely glanced at her ticket before waving her through. The others, the elite guests, didn't even look her way. She looked too ordinary, too quiet to belong. As she stepped onto the ship, she ran her hand along the polished rails, feeling every inch, every screw, every heartbeat of the ship. It was hers, though no one here knew it. For now, inside the grand lobby, a piano played softly. A chandelier hung above like a galaxy caught in glass. Zuri smiled faintly. They did renovate it right. Her company had spent months redesigning the cruise experience, a sustainable luxury model meant to treat staff and guests equally. But she didn't come here for pleasure. She came to see how people behave when they thought no one important was watching. A woman's voice cut through the music. "Excuse me, could we get some help over here?" Zuri turned. A couple stood by the concierge desk, mid-50s, sun-kissed, loud. The woman, Vivian Devereaux, wore pearls heavy enough to pull her neck down. Her husband, Charles, looked bored, scrolling on his phone. Vivian snapped her fingers. "You there, can you grab D for me?" Zuri blinked. "Me?" "Yes, you. Don't just stand there. Take the bags to Suite 9B, would you?" Zuri looked at the concierge, who froze. He opened his mouth to correct Vivian, then hesitated. Zuri gave him a small, calm smile. "It's all right," she said softly, picking up the bags. She followed them down the corridor, heavy designer luggage wheels squeaking on the marble floors. Vivian chatted over her shoulder, not once saying thank you. "Make sure the champagne in our suite is chilled. And tell the captain my husband wants a private tour." Zuri nodded politely, setting the bags down outside their door. Vivian handed her a $10 bill. "Here, for your trouble." Zuri looked at the bill, then up at the woman's painted smile. "Thank you, ma'am," she said, tucking it gently back into Vivian's pocket. "Looks like you'll need it more than I do." Vivian blinked, confused. Zuri smiled softly and walked away. Later that afternoon, Zuri sat at the open deck cafe, sipping tea and watching waves curl against the hull. The sea always calmed her. It was predictable, honest, wild in the right ways. But the people here, they were storms of another kind. A waiter approached nervously. "Miss, are you sure you're allowed to sit here? This area is reserved for gold-tier guests." Zuri's lips curved. "Oh, I'll only be a moment." Before the waiter could respond, Vivian appeared again, arm in arm with another woman. She spotted Zuri and gasped. "Oh, would you look at that? One of the staff sitting in the guest lounge," she said loudly enough for others to hear. Her friend giggled. "Maybe she's on break." Zuri put down her cup gently. "If you think I don't belong here," she said quietly, "you're free to leave." Vivian scoffed. "Excuse me?" I said. Zuri's eyes met hers, calm but sharp. "You're free to leave?" For a second, the deck went silent. Even the waves seemed to pause. Vivian's face turned red, but before she could speak, Charles muttered, "Let go, Viv." They walked off, whispering furiously. The waiter looked horrified. "Ma'am, I'm so sorry." Zuri waved him off kindly. "It's fine. You've done nothing wrong." She stood, finishing her tea. "Sometimes," she murmured, "people only see what they understand." The waiter frowned slightly, not quite sure what she meant. But somewhere above them, on the captain's bridge, Captain Russo had been watching the entire scene through the observation glass. He'd seen many rich passengers in his years, loud, entitled, cold. But this woman, there was something different, something royal about her stillness. He turned to his first officer. "Find out who she is." That evening, Zuri stood alone on the upper deck as the sun disappeared behind the horizon. The ship hummed beneath her feet, lights shimmering on the waves. A gull cried in the distance, lonely, free. She took a deep breath, whispering to herself, "Let's see what you become." Because in 48 hours, this ship, this entire luxury line, would officially belong to Zuri Daniels Holdings. But before the announcement, she wanted to see the truth, how her empire treated those who kept it afloat. And already, the truth was uglier than she imagined. Night fell over the ocean majesty like velvet. The upper decks glowed in soft amber light, music echoing from the grand atrium, laughter, clinking glasses, the hum of luxury at full throttle. Zuri walked through it all unnoticed. Everywhere she went, she saw what money did to people, how it made some louder, some crueler, and others invisible. She slipped quietly into the Azure Lounge, where the ship's elite gathered, private investors, tech founders, retired royals. A small jazz band played near the bar, and waiters floated between tables like shadows. Zuri took a seat near the corner, her back to the window, observing. At a nearby table, Vivian Devereaux sat with her friends, the same ones who had laughed earlier. Their designer gowns shimmered under the dim lights, each story starting with "My husband's yacht" or "Our villa in Capri." Vivian was mid-sentence when she noticed Zuri enter. Her lips curved into that familiar smirk. "Oh, look who it is, our favorite little helper." Her friends turned. One whispered, "She's staff? Why is she sitting here?" Zuri pretended not to hear. She picked up the cocktail menu, scanning it like she had all the time in the world. Vivian wasn't satisfied with being ignored. She waved her hand dramatically. "Miss, could you bring us another bottle of the 2012 Blanc du Lys? And don't take forever this time." The table giggled. Zuri looked up, calm as still water. "I don't work here," she said softly. Vivian chuckled. "Oh, please. You're wearing jeans. On this deck? Be serious." A waiter hurried over, stammering. "Ma'am, she's not part of the crew." Vivian snapped. "Then why is she sitting with us?" The waiter froze. All eyes turned to Zuri again. Zuri sighed quietly, then smiled. Not the kind of smile people use to please, but the kind that disarms. "Because I belong here more than you think," she said. Her tone was gentle, but it landed like a hammer. Even the jazz band hesitated for a beat before continuing. Vivian's face stiffened. "You're rude." Zuri stood slowly. "No, ma'am. Just comfortable." She walked away, leaving the table speechless. In the hallway, a familiar voice called behind her, "Excuse me, Miss Daniels." It was Captain Russo. Tall, late 50s, his uniform sharp, his posture military perfect. "I've been meaning to speak with you," he said, falling into step beside her. "Your name came up on the guest manifest. You're not exactly an ordinary passenger." Zuri smiled faintly. "And what makes you say that?" He gave her a measured look. "You move like you own the place." She chuckled. "Do I? I've seen every kind of guest," he said. "You don't drink much. You don't take photos. You watch people more than the ocean. That's not tourism, that's assessment." Zuri turned her gaze toward the horizon, dark, endless. "Maybe I'm just someone who likes to see how people treat strangers." The captain studied her for a moment longer. "Then you've probably seen too much already." She tilted her head. "Meaning?" He hesitated. "This ship isn't as glamorous behind the curtains as the guests believe. Some of the crew are overworked, underpaid. The Devereaux? They requested their steward be replaced 3 times this morning." "I know," Zuri said softly. "I watched it happen." That surprised him. "Then you understand." "Oh, I understand perfectly," she replied. "And I intend to fix it." The captain frowned. "Fix it? How?" Zuri smiled, turning to face him fully. "By the time this ship docks in Monaco, everyone will know exactly who I am." Then she walked away, leaving the captain standing there, jaws slightly open. Later that night, deep below deck, Zuri descended the narrow stairwell into the crew quarters. The air was different here, humid, filled with the smell of detergent and seawater. Music echoed faintly from a small break room where the crew gathered after hours. She stood by the door, unnoticed at first. Inside, a young woman with braids was sitting at a small metal table, rubbing her sore hands. Her name tag read Nia. 2 others sat beside her, Mateo, a cook, and Lana, a room attendant. Vivian Devereaux threw her towel at me. Lana said quietly, said it smelled like bleach. Mateo sighed. That's because it is bleach. We don't have new linens this trip. Nia muttered, management doesn't care. They just smile for the guests. Zuri's chest tightened. She stepped forward. You're wrong about that, she said gently. The crew looked up, startled. Oh, sorry, are you lost? Nia asked, this area is for staff only. Zuri smiled. I know. I just came to listen. Listen to what? Mateo asked suspiciously. To how things really are, she said. The crew exchanged confused glances. Zuri looked around. The peeling paint, the old vents, the small fan trying to cool the room. This was the other side of luxury, the one the guests never saw. She sat down beside them, folding her hands. Tell me what you need, she said simply. What's missing? What's broken? What's unfair? Nia laughed softly. Lady, you don't look like management. Maybe that's the point, Zuri said. Lana shrugged. Okay then, start with pay. We work 16-hour days, no overtime. The company keeps saying budget's tight. Zuri nodded slowly. Noted. Better equipment. Mateo added. Half the kitchen tools are older than me. Zuri smiled faintly. You'd be surprised how easy that is to fix. Nia looked at her, curiosity flickering. You talk like someone who could actually do something. Zuri met her gaze. Maybe I can. For a moment, silence filled the room, thick but hopeful. Then Lana laughed softly. If only you ran this ship, huh? Zuri smiled. Yeah, if only. Hours later, when Zuri finally returned to her suite, one of the smaller guest cabins she'd chosen on purpose, she opened her tablet. A private document glowed on the screen. Ocean Majesty acquisition. Final transfer pending. 48 hours. At the bottom, her signature already waited. She closed the tablet and whispered to herself, tomorrow we start over. The engines hummed softly beneath her feet. Up above, the guests slept in luxury. Down below, the workers dreamed of freedom. And somewhere between those worlds, Zuri Daniels planned to change everything. By morning, the Ocean Majesty floated under a streak of sunrise, gold spilling across the horizon like melted fire. But beneath the calm sea and cheerful breakfast chatter, something had shifted. It started as a whisper in the crew quarters. Then it spread like perfume through the decks. That woman, the one who helped in the lounge last night, she was in the captain's office. Are you sure? Positive. They talked for over an hour. She's not staff, but she walks around like she owns the place. By noon, even the passengers were gossiping. In a place where everyone thought they already knew who mattered, mystery was a new currency. Upper deck, pool sidebar. Vivian Devereaux was lounging on a recliner, oversized sunglasses hiding the frustration that hadn't left her since last night. Her friends gathered around, sipping mimosas. I swear, Vivian said, the audacity of that girl, acting like she belonged here. Her tone was sharp, each word dipped in bitterness. She's probably trying to charm the captain for free upgrades. Her friend, Mila, leaned closer. You sure she's not some influencer? I heard one of the stewards call her Miss Daniels, and the captain himself greeted her this morning. Vivian's brow furrowed. Miss Daniels. The name lingered. Familiar, but she couldn't place it. Maybe she's some investor, Mila shrugged. You know how they act. Quiet, observing everything. Vivian scoffed. Please, investors don't wear denim jackets. She took another sip, hiding the flicker of unease behind her glass. Below, deck, crew lounge. Meanwhile, Nia couldn't stop talking about last night. She just sat with us. No judgment, no questions. Said she wanted to listen. Mateo nodded. It's weird, though. After she left, Chief Officer got an email, anonymous, asking for a full crew performance review, with pay adjustments. Lana's eyes widened. You think she sent it? I don't know, Nia said. But this morning, HR announcer doing inspections, and the chef got a shipment of new kitchen tools. They fell silent, realization dawning. Who was this woman? Captain's quarters. Captain Russo stood by the panoramic window, coffee in hand. The sea stretched endlessly before him, but his thoughts were fixed on the passenger in Suite 312, Zuri Daniels. He had looked her up the night before, curiosity gnawing at him, but the database said almost nothing. Her background check was redacted, her payment marked under a corporate entity, Majesty Holdings Ltd., and that name, Majesty, was the same one printed in gold letters across the ship's hull. He smiled to himself. "You're full of surprises, Miss Daniels." Just then, the intercom buzzed. "Captain, Mrs. Devereaux is requesting an audience." He sighed. "Send her in." Vivian swept in like a storm dress in silk. "Captain, I need to file a formal complaint." He set his cup down. "Regarding?" "Your guest, the one pretending to be staff. She was rude, disrespectful." "Miss Daniels," he interrupted smoothly. "Yes, that one." Vivian snapped. "You should have her moved to a lower deck." The captain's expression stayed neutral, but his tone carried quiet amusement. "I'll make a note, Mrs. Devereaux, though I assure you, Miss Daniels is no ordinary guest." Vivian frowned. "Meaning?" He smiled faintly. "Meaning, you may want to treat her with more respect." Vivian stiffened. "Is that a threat?" "Just friendly advice," he said. "Enjoy your cruise." She turned sharply and stormed out, heels echoing across the corridor. Fury burning hotter than the tropical sun. Evening, Grand Atrium. The Ocean Majesty was alive again that night, a masquerade ball glittering under chandeliers, guests dressed in gold and white. Zuri appeared on the balcony overlooking the dance floor, wearing a simple satin gown, navy blue, understated, elegant. No diamonds, no designer flash, yet somehow everyone noticed her. The captain, standing below, caught her gaze. He nodded once, discreetly. The deal was nearly complete. Zuri moved gracefully down the marble steps, and for the first time, whispers followed her, not mockery, but curiosity. "Who is she?" "She's not on the guest list." "I heard she's connected to the owners." Vivian, watching from her table, nearly choked on her champagne. She dared to show up here? Her husband, Robert Devereaux, looked mildly annoyed. "Let it go, Viv. She's just another social climber." Vivian leaned closer. "You'll see. People like her always overstep." But as Zuri walked past, her eyes met Vivian's, steady, unreadable. No hostility, just quiet confidence. That unsettled Vivian more than anger ever could. Midnight, observation deck. Later, when the party faded, Zuri stood alone by the railing. The ocean stretched infinitely, black and alive under the moonlight. The captain approached quietly. "It's done," he said. "The paperwork cleared. As of midnight, the Ocean Majesty is officially under Majesty Holdings." Zuri nodded, calm as ever. "Good." He hesitated. "You really won't tell them yet?" "Not yet," she said. "Let them show who they are first." He smiled knowingly. "A test." She looked out at the sea. "Not a test. A mirror." The waves reflected light against her face, soft, strong, serene. She wasn't here to prove anything. She was here to see everything. Next morning, dining hall. Breakfast buzzed with gossip again. Vivian's voice rose from the center table. "I saw her talking to the captain again. It's suspicious." Someone whispered. "Well, rumor is she's not just a passenger. They say she's with the company that owns the ship." Vivian laughed too loudly. "Oh, please. She probably cleans her offices." But when she looked up, she froze. Because Zuri Daniels was walking in, this time, escorted by the captain himself. Every head turned. The captain pulled out a chair at the captain's table, a seat reserved only for top dignitaries and investors. Zuri sat down gracefully, offering a polite nod to the onlookers. Vivian's fork clattered onto her plate. "Who is she?" someone whispered. Zuri looked across the room, eyes calm, smile faint. "You'll find out soon enough." she said quietly, just loud enough for the table beside her to hear. And with that, she began her breakfast, composed, untouchable, while whispers rippled to the hall like wind over water. The morning sun glinted off the Ocean Majesty's polished rails, scattering light across the calm sea. On the top deck, the guests sipped their coffee, unaware that the day would not go as smoothly as they expected. Zuri Daniels walked among them, quiet and unobtrusive, yet every step radiated a presence no one could ignore. The crew, meanwhile, whispered in corners, exchanging glances when they noticed her moving through the corridors with an ease that suggested authority, though no uniform marked her as such. Lower deck engine room. By mid-morning, a warning alarm echoed through the ship. The main engine had a minor malfunction. Nothing catastrophic, but enough to trigger safety protocols. The crew scrambled. Sweat dripped from foreheads, hands flew over consoles, and radios crackled with tension. It was the kind of situation that would rattle even seasoned sailors. Zuri appeared at the entrance, calmly observing. She didn't push, didn't shout. She just stood, watching the crew coordinate. Mateo, the head engineer, noticed her. "Miss, you're not supposed to be down here." Zuri smiled faintly. "Maybe not, but I can help if needed." Mateo froze. "You help? With the engines?" "Not me," she corrected softly. "You, but with guidance. You're skilled. You just need clarity." The crew exchanged puzzled looks. Slowly, they followed her instructions. She didn't tell them what to do directly. Instead, she asked questions that made them think, adjust, and act more efficiently. Within 20 minutes, the alarm stopped. The engines hummed smoothly. Mateo shook his head. What are you?" Zuri's eyes softened. "Someone who built this ship to run like this. And someone who wants to treat it that way." Upper deck, guest areas. Word of the engine incident spread quickly. Guests murmured in hallways, speculating about the mysterious woman who seemed to appear wherever things went wrong. Vivian Devereaux, overhearing the whispers, stormed to the captain's office. "How is it," she demanded, "that she keeps showing up? What is she doing?" Captain Rousseau raised an eyebrow. "Miss Daniels," he said calmly, "she's making sure everyone is safe." "That's all." Vivian scoffed. "Safe? She's everywhere, watching us, the crew, even the engines." Rousseau leaned back. "Sometimes the quietest people are the most powerful. You'll see soon enough." Crew quarters, midday. Zuri descended again, this time to check on her team personally. Nia approached, nervous. "Miss, Daniels, that engine, it's running perfectly now. We couldn't have done it without you." Zuri shook her head. "You did it. I just reminded you of what you already knew. That's all leadership really is, creating space for others to succeed." Mateo grinned. "You make it sound so simple." Zuri smiled faintly. "It is simple. You just have to care enough to notice when things are off." Lana piped up, still incredulous. "And yet, nobody upstairs seems to see it. They treat us like we're invisible." Zuri crouched slightly, meeting her eyes. "Invisible? No. People only see what they expect to see. Change that expectation, and suddenly everyone notices." The crew looked at each other. Something had shifted. Respect, maybe even admiration, glimmered where doubt had been before. Afternoon, passenger decks. Back above, Vivian Devereaux's irritation reached a boiling point. She had watched Zuri interact with the crew, moving with quiet authority, fixing problems without being asked. How dare she? Vivian muttered under her breath. She's not even a guest, and she's running this ship. Her friend Mila nodded, whispering, I heard someone say she owns it." Vivian gasped. "Owns it? That's impossible. She looked like staff yesterday." Yet, somewhere deep, a flicker of fear crossed her mind. She had spent her life assuming power came from appearances, yachts, diamonds, silk dresses. But Zuri's calm confidence, her quiet control over chaos, was proof that authority doesn't need to announce itself. Evening, balcony reflection. As the sun dipped into horizon, painting the ocean in deep reds and purples, Zuri stepped onto the private balcony. The waves reflected light against her face. She didn't need to speak. She didn't need to prove anything. The engines hummed beneath her feet. The crew worked with renewed energy. The guests, oblivious of the full truth, whispered about her everywhere. She allowed herself a small smile. Change was coming, not through confrontation, not through anger, through quiet observation, through letting people see themselves. Tomorrow, the first formal announcement would be made. The first passenger confrontation would happen. But tonight, the ship already knew who was truly in charge. Zuri Daniels inhaled the salt-sweet air. She had tested the waters. And already, the currents had shifted. The morning sun spilled across the ocean majesty, glinting off the polished decks and glass railings. Passengers sipped coffee on the upper decks, chatting about cocktails, excursions, and the endless luxury around them. But something was different today. A subtle tension pulsed through the ship, like an unspoken secret that everyone sensed but couldn't name. VIP lounge, breakfast. Vivian Devereaux sat with her usual entourage, but the air felt heavier than the previous days. She scanned the deck, her eyes hunting for Zuri Daniels, the woman who had quietly turned her perfect cruise upside down. "She's everywhere," Vivian whispered. "I saw her in the engine room yesterday. Now who knows where she is?" Mila, her friend, nodded slowly. "I heard she's the owner of this ship. Like, really owns it." Vivian's fork paused midair. "That's absurd. She can't own this ship." But doubt had already begun to creep in. Crew quarters. Zuri made her rounds early, checking on the staff before the breakfast rush. Nia was struggling with a new shipment of linens, her brow furrowed. "Need a hand?" Zuri asked softly, kneeling beside her. Nia looked up, startled. No, ma'am. I can manage." Zuri smiled faintly. "You are managing. But sometimes managing is enough. Sometimes guidance is all it takes." Mateo leaned against the wall, arms crossed. She doesn't even have a uniform, yet she's directing the staff like she's been doing for years. Lana chuckled quietly. If only the guests knew who she really was. Zuri's lips curved in a subtle smile. Soon enough, main deck, guest area. By mid-morning, the whispers started. Guests noticed the way crew members responded to her. Respectful nods, subtle deference, smiles that carried gratitude. Even passengers who had laughed at her earlier hesitated now, sensing she carried authority, though they couldn't name its source. Vivian, fueled by curiosity and growing fear, decided to confront the situation herself. She spotted Zuri near the railing, overlooking the ocean, seemingly lost in thought. Vivian marched over, the heels of her designer sandals clacking against the deck. "Excuse me," Vivian snapped. "I think it's time we clarify something." Zuri turned slowly, calm and composed. Her eyes met Vivian's. "Yes." Vivian hesitated, trying to hide the tremor in her voice. "Who are you really? Are you a guest? Are you staff? Some corporate inspector?" Zuri tilted her head, letting the silence stretch. Then softly, "I'm the one who owns this ship." Vivian froze. The words hung in the air, heavy and undeniable. "W what?" she stammered. "I build it. I run it. I decide who belongs and who doesn't." Vivian's face paled. "You own this entire ship?" Zuri's gaze was steady. "Yes, and I've been watching, observing, learning who respects people and who doesn't." Whispers across the deck. By the time breakfast service ended, the news had spread. Guests exchanged astonished glances, murmuring among themselves. "She's the owner? That little denim-clad girl. All this time, we were insulting her? I can't believe it. She's been running this ship under our noses." Even staff members exchanged quiet smiles, a sense of pride spreading through the corridors. Nia whispered to Mateo, "I told you she's different." Mateo nodded. "Yeah, different and fearless." Crew lounge. Zuri returned to the staff lounge, where Mateo, Nia, and Lana waited. "You saw..." Zuri asked, raising an eyebrow. Nia laughed softly. "We saw. And honestly, it feels good to know who's really in charge." Mateo added, "No more guessing. No more being invisible." Zuri smiled faintly. "Good. That's the first step. Respect isn't demanded. It's earned. And when it's earned, loyalty follows naturally. Lana's eyes sparkled. So what now? Zuri leaned back, thoughtful. Now, we make sure the ship runs as it should. Smoothly, efficiently, respectfully. Guests should enjoy luxury, but not at the expense of anyone else's dignity. Nia grinned. Sounds like a plan. Afternoon, the first test. Later that day, a small crisis arose. A minor medical emergency in the upper deck. Passengers panicked. Crew rushed, unsure of procedures. Zuri appeared instantly, directing people calmly. She coordinated with the ship's medical team, arranged seating, comforted nervous guests, and ensured the injured passenger was stabilized quickly. By the time it was over, whispers spread. Who is she? She handled everything so smoothly. She doesn't just own this ship, she runs it. Even Vivian, watching from the railing, couldn't hide her awe. She is the owner, Vivian muttered under her breath. And she's remarkable. Evening, reflection on the deck. As the sun set, painting the ocean in gold and crimson, Zuri stepped onto the private balcony overlooking the waves. She inhaled deeply, letting the salty breeze fill her lungs. The day had been a test. Passengers, crew, emergencies, and she had observed everything. Her presence was no longer a secret. Her authority, though quiet, was now undeniable. She whispered softly to herself. People show their true colors when they think no one is watching. Now everyone knows I am. The ship hummed beneath her feet, engine smooth and reliable. Above, the stars began to appear one by one, as if applauding the woman who had silently taken command. And deep inside, Zuri Daniels knew the real journey was only beginning. The ocean majesty glistened under the afternoon sun, waves sparkling like liquid diamonds. On deck, passengers lounged lazily, sipping cocktails, pretending the world revolved solely around them. But today, the balance of power was quietly shifting. First-class lounge. Vivian Devereaux perched on a velvet chair, her sunglasses hiding the storm behind her eyes. Every so often, she glanced toward Zuri Daniels, who moved through the crowd with calm confidence, unnoticed by most but subtly commanding attention from those who mattered. She's everywhere, Vivian whispered to her friend Mila. I can't even tell where she ends and the crew begins. Mila smirked. Maybe that's the point. You think she's staff, she's the owner. You try to outrank someone like that, you'll only embarrass yourself. Vivian's lips pressed into a thin line. I will not be embarrassed. The subtle challenge. Vivian's opportunity came sooner than expected. A tray of hors d'oeuvres passed by her table, carried by a junior steward. Zuri walked behind them, her hands empty, eyes scanning the lounge. Vivian leaned forward, voice low but sharp. Excuse me. The steward froze. Guests turned. I think you need to move that lady to a different table, Vivian demanded, pointing discreetly at Zuri. She shouldn't be mingling here. She's not a guest. Zuri turned, calm as ever. Her gaze met Vivian's, quiet, steady, piercing. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't argue. Instead, she smiled faintly. Are you asking me or the steward? She said softly. Vivian faltered. Well, Zuri leaned slightly closer, voice just above a whisper. I'm the owner, so it's neither your call nor his. But thank you for your concern. The words were soft. The effect was devastating. Guests take notice. Whispers spread quickly. The first-class passengers, who had once assumed they were untouchable, now glanced nervously at Zuri. She's really the owner? One muttered. She handled that without raising her voice, said another. I wouldn't dare challenge her. Even the captain's assistant passed by, nodding discreetly to Zuri. Everything's running smoothly. You've made an impression. Zuri didn't respond. She didn't need to. Her calm authority spoke for itself. Crew lounge strategy. Back with the crew, Zuri gathered Mateo, Nia, and Lana. The first-class lounge will test you, she explained. Passengers with entitlement rarely respect quiet authority. Some will push. Some will try to intimidate. Watch carefully. Learn who respects, who resists, and who manipulates. Mateo frowned. You want us to what exactly? Observe, assist, protect the integrity of the ship without escalating tension. And remember, Zuri paused, letting the weight sink in. Control isn't about being loud. It's about being visible until action speaks. Lana nodded slowly. Like chess, the pieces move themselves, but the board belongs to the player. Zuri smiled faintly. Exactly. Evening, the gala begins. That night, the ship hosted a formal gala in the grand atrium. Guests shimmered in black and gold, laughter echoing off crystal chandeliers. Vivian Devereaux, determined to regain her sense of superiority, positioned herself strategically near the center. Zuri entered quietly, wearing a navy blue gown, simple, elegant, understated. No one paid her immediate attention at first, but soon the energy shifted. Crew members subtly adjusted lighting and music as if anticipating her movements. Guests noticed her glance sweep across the room. Nothing missed. Who was smiling politely? Who was tense? Who was pretending? And then came the first real test. The confrontation. Vivian approached, her heels clicking sharply against the marble floor. I think it's time you explain something to me. Zuri's gaze met hers. Calm. Steady. Go ahead. You're who? Why are you allowed to? Zuri raised a hand gently, cutting her off. Because I built this ship. Every bolt, every crew member, every protocol, every part of this experience is mine to oversee. And yet, I let it run naturally. It's the respect, not fear, that maintains order. Vivian blinked. You own it? Yes. Zuri said, soft but firm. And I've been testing everyone on board. Guests, crew, even you. Vivian's face paled. She tried to respond, but no words came. Zuri leaned back slightly, offering a faint smile. The question now isn't whether I own it. It's whether you're willing to adjust. Vivian's grip on her clutch tightened. I will not. Zuri's gaze didn't waver. You will, eventually, or the sea will remind you. The shift. By the end of the night, whispers filled every corner. The once proud guests began to observe Zuri differently. Even Vivian felt it, a mix of fear, awe, and begrudging respect. The crew watched silently, understanding something crucial. She wasn't just the owner of the ship. She was its pulse, its heartbeat. And soon, everyone, passenger and staff alike, would understand that trying to undermine her was futile. Zuri stepped onto the balcony later that night, overlooking the dark, endless ocean. The waves shimmered, reflecting the lights of the ship. She took a deep breath, the cool wind brushing her face. The first wave of tests is over, she thought. The next ones will be even more revealing. And somewhere deep in the first-class lounge, Vivian Devereaux nursed her bruised ego, realizing that her assumptions about power and authority were about to crumble completely. The ocean majesty sailed into calm waters, the horizon a blur of gold and blue as the morning sun kissed the ocean. On deck, the guests lounged lazily, unaware that the real drama was about to unfold. First-class lounge, strategic moves. Vivian Devereaux, still smarting from yesterday's humiliation, decided to test Zuri. She leaned casually against a velvet chair, surveying the room with a mix of curiosity and veiled hostility. When Zuri entered, she moved among the guests with her usual calm elegance, acknowledging nods but never lingering. Vivian seized the moment. Miss Daniels, she called, voice sweet but sharp. I wonder, should we adjust the seating arrangements? Surely someone of your standing might prefer a different table. Zuri paused, letting the words hang. She tilted her head, eyes meeting Vivian's. Are you asking me or informing me? She replied softly. Vivian's smile faltered. Well, informing, I suppose. Zuri's lips curved in a faint, almost imperceptible smile. Interesting choice. Informing those who aren't in charge rarely changes outcomes. A hush spread among the nearby guests. Whispers bubbled like hidden waves. She doesn't even raise her voice, and everyone stops. I think she is the owner. That calm, it's terrifying. Vivian's face drained of color. For the first time, she felt exposed. Crew observation. Below deck, Mateo, Nia, and Lana watched from the staff corridors, quietly impressed. She handled that perfectly, Nia whispered. Not loud, not angry, but she just shifted everything. Mateo nodded. She's teaching all of us something without even speaking to us directly. That's power. Lana chuckled softly. And poor Vivian doesn't even know how to respond. That's hilarious. Zuri passed by them, overhearing their commentary. She nodded slightly. Observation is a first step toward understanding. Never underestimate the quiet. The gala test. That evening, the crews hosted a formal gala in the main atrium. Crystal chandeliers sparkled, music flowed across the decks, and the champagne flowed like golden rivers. Vivian approached Zuri again, determined to reclaim some control. I think you should announce your position, she said, forcing a smile. Otherwise, people might get confused. Zuri turned, serene. Confusion is natural, but clarity comes in time. Vivian's eyes narrowed. I think people should know who they're dealing with. Zuri's gaze swept across the room. Crew members straightened. Guests whispered. And then, with a calm but commanding tone, she spoke. I am Zuri Daniels, owner of the Ocean Majesty. I've spent years building this ship to be more than a luxury vessel. It's a place where respect matters, and every person on board is valued equally. That includes guests and crew alike. The room fell silent. Even the musicians paused mid-note. Whispers erupted. She said it. She owns a ship. I can't believe it. And she's so calm. Vivian's face burned with humiliation. Every eye had turned to Zuri. Every guest had felt the shift in power. Quiet dominance. After the announcement, Zuri didn't demand anything. She didn't smile broadly or show off. She simply walked among the guests, subtly observing reactions, her presence alone commanding respect. Vivian attempted to challenge her once more, commenting on seating or service. But each time, Zuri responded with calm logic, strategic precision, and a gentle firmness that left no room for argument. By the end of the night, it was clear to everyone, Zuri Daniels was not only the owner of the ship, she was its quiet, unstoppable force. Crew loyalty. Later, back in the crew lounge, Mateo leaned back in his chair, shaking his head. Did you see that? She didn't even raise her voice. Yet, Vivian couldn't do a thing. Neil laughed. It's like watching a storm, silent but powerful. Zuri, sitting at the corner table, looked at them. Power isn't in volume or threats. It's in presence, in foresight, and in how you make others feel accountable without forcing them. Remember this lesson. Always. Lana nodded. We're lucky to have you leading us, ma'am. Zuri's faint smile carried more weight than any applause. We lead together. That's the difference between authority and leadership. Evening reflection, private deck. Zuri stepped out onto the private deck later that night. The moon reflected across the calm ocean, painting silver paths across the waves. Vivian Devereaux, standing across the deck with her entourage, glared at Zuri, trying to hide her growing anxiety. Zuri, sensing her gaze, didn't look back. Instead, she whispered to herself, barely audible, they will learn. Slowly. Respect cannot be demanded. It must be earned. And those who resist will fall in line. The gentle wind carried the words across the deck. The waves rippled beneath the ship. Even the Ocean Majesty seemed to acknowledge her presence, engines humming smoothly, lights flickering in rhythm with her steady pulse of authority. Closing narration, voiceover friendly. Sometimes the loudest voices are the weakest, and sometimes the quietest presence changes everything. Zuri Daniels didn't need to shout to be heard, because everyone on this ship would feel her power before the day was done. The Ocean Majesty sailed smoothly through turquoise waters, the late afternoon sun casting warm reflections across the polished decks. On the upper decks, laughter and clinking glasses floated lazily through the air, but beneath the calm surface, tension simmered. Vivian Devereaux was plotting. First-class lounge, a public attempt. Vivian had spent the morning observing Zuri Daniels. Every move, every interaction, every calm nod or subtle glance had been catalogued. Determined to regain control, she devised her first public challenge. At the center of the lounge, a tray of exotic hors d'oeuvres passed by. Vivian called out loudly, hoping to draw attention. "Excuse me, are you sure these are being served correctly? I think someone needs to supervise." Heads turned. Whispers ran through the lounge. The guests noticed the attempt, Vivian trying to assert dominance. Zuri, standing a few feet away, didn't move immediately. She didn't need to. Her presence alone commanded attention. Finally, she stepped forward, calm and composed. Her voice, soft yet unmistakable, cut through the murmurs. "I assure you, every detail has been attended to. The crew is aware of the standards, and everything is being handled properly." Vivian's eyes narrowed. I just... "Observing is fine," Zuri interrupted gently. "But questioning authority publicly without cause can create more chaos than it solves." The room went quiet. Every guest, crew member, and even the musicians paused mid-task. Vivian's humiliation was palpable. She realized, once again, she had underestimated the quiet power that required no theatrics. Crew confidence. Below deck, Mateo, Nia, and Lana exchanged satisfied glances. "She handled that beautifully," Mateo said, shaking his head. "No confrontation needed. Just presence and words." Nia laughed. "It's like she's untouchable. Everyone respects her, even when she's not trying to be intimidating." Lana added, "And Vivian? She just dug herself a deeper hole." Zuri, passing by, smiled faintly. "Remember this. Challenges reveal character. Observe how people react, and you'll understand more than any manual could teach." Private balcony, observing the scene. Later, Zuri stepped onto a secluded balcony overlooking the sea. The sky was streaked with pink and orange, waves glinting like molten gold. From afar, she could see Vivian fuming, flustered, and trying to reclaim composure. But Zuri didn't need to act. She simply observed, letting the natural course of events demonstrate the lesson. The guests, curious and intrigued, started talking amongst themselves. "She's incredible. I've never seen someone handle power so quietly. That's inspiring." Even a few of the VIP passengers who had once been critical of the crew now approached, subtly acknowledging Zuri with nods or polite smiles. Power, she thought, isn't about control. It's about perception, influence, and timing. The next challenge. Not content with her subtle defeat, Vivian planned a second test. She approached the staff corridor, where new crew members were prepping for an evening event. "Excuse me," she began, her tone clipped. "I need this area inspected. Someone should ensure everything is perfect. You don't want mistakes, do you?" The junior staff members hesitated. They had seen Zuri in action. They knew how she handled chaos. Before they could respond, Zuri appeared silently behind Vivian. "Everything is already prepared," Zuri said softly, addressing the staff. "You may continue as planned." Vivian turned, startled. "I..." Zuri's gaze met hers. Calm, unyielding. "Observing doesn't mean you get to interfere. The crew is trusted. You may want to remember that." Vivian's shoulders slumped slightly. Her voice caught. "Of course." The lesson, though quiet, hit hard. Respect was not demanded, it was demonstrated. Evening gala, final confirmation. By nightfall, the gala resumed in the grand atrium. The music swelled, guests dressed in sparkling attire, laughter mingling with clinking glasses. Vivian tried one last subtle maneuver, questioning the order of the evening, suggesting changes mid-performance. Zuri approached with quiet authority. She adjusted a small detail, rearranging a few elements without drawing attention to herself. Guests noticed the subtle elegance and perfection. Whispers circulated. She just fixed it without anyone realizing how. "I think she is the owner." No one could manage this level of precision without authority. Vivian's face burned with embarrassment. She realized her attempts to dominate publicly were futile. Every challenge only highlighted Zuri's calm mastery. Crew lounge, reflection. After the gala, the crew gathered quietly in their lounge. "She turned every challenge into a lesson," Nia said softly, "and we all learned from it." Mateo nodded. "Even the guests learned. They just don't realize it yet." Zuri, sitting at the corner table, looked at them calmly. "Remember, power is quiet. Authority is subtle. Influence is felt, not shouted. That is how real leadership works. The crew exchanged glances, pride and admiration clear in their eyes. Closing thoughts. Balcony over the sea. Later, Zuri stood alone on the balcony, the moon reflecting off the dark water, casting silver paths across the waves. Vivian Devereaux, somewhere below, nursed her bruised ego, realizing her plan to humiliate or challenge Zuri had backfired spectacularly. Zuri whispered softly, almost to herself. Every test reveals character. Every challenge strengthens resolve. And those who oppose will learn. Quietly, elegantly, inevitably. The Ocean Majesty sailed on, engine smooth, lights flickering in rhythm with her steady, unshakable presence. The game had only begun. The Ocean Majesty sailed into the late afternoon, its polished decks glinting under the fading sun. Guests laughed and sipped cocktails, unaware that the real challenge was about to arrive. Above the horizon, dark clouds gathered. The ocean began to churn, waves lapping higher against the hull. A storm was coming, and with it, the ultimate test of authority. Bridge, calm before the storm. Captain Hernandez scanned the horizon, tension tight in his jaw. Storm's moving fast, he muttered, adjusting the radar. Zuri Daniels appeared beside him, her presence calm, almost unnervingly so. Prepare the crew, she said softly. Guests need to feel safe, not panic. Confidence is contagious. The captain nodded, already impressed by her foresight. Understood, ma'am. First-class lounge, rising tension. Guests began to notice the wind picking up and the first signs of a storm. Drinks clinked nervously against glassware. Vivian Devereaux, now desperate to reassert herself, whispered to her entourage. We need to make sure the crew handles this properly. I can't have anyone looking unprofessional. Before anyone could act, Zuri entered the lounge. Her calm demeanor and quiet authority immediately drew attention. She moved among the guests, adjusting minor details. A tablecloth here, a chair there, without a word of panic. Vivian's eyes narrowed. How is she everywhere? Zuri's gaze swept the room. Every crew member was in position, every detail accounted for. The guests watched, some whispering. She's prepared for everything. I can't believe she is the owner. And she's handling this storm like it's nothing. Crew coordination. Below deck, Mateo, Nia, and Lana coordinated the crew with subtle signals from Zuri. She doesn't even have to speak loudly, Mateo said, watching her. And yet, everyone knows exactly what to do. Nia nodded, tying ropes and securing equipment. It's like she's in control of the storm itself. Lana added, and Vivian's losing it upstairs. This is beautiful. Zuri smiled faintly. Order and calm are stronger than panic and noise. Remember that. Storm hits. By evening, the storm reached the ship. Wind howled, rain pounded the decks, and waves crashed higher than usual. Guests gripped their seats, some panicking despite the crew's reassurances. Vivian attempted to stir unease further. I hope someone knows what they're doing. This is dangerous. Zuri appeared beside her quietly. Everyone knows what they're doing, she said calmly. And even if they didn't, fear won't help anyone. Trust experience, not chaos. Vivian faltered, realizing her attempt to undermine Zuri's authority was failing once again. The public test. A small medical emergency arose as a guest slipped on the wet floor. Panic spread quickly. Zuri didn't hesitate. She directed crew members with precise, calm instructions, ensuring the injured guest was attended to immediately. Guests watched in awe. She's handling it perfectly. This is unbelievable. She is the owner, isn't she? I've never seen anyone manage chaos like this. Even Vivian could do nothing but watch, her frustration and fear growing. Bridge, crew trust. Below deck, the crew followed Zuri's lead flawlessly. Mateo and Nia worked seamlessly with other crew members, guided by Zuri's calm presence. She's incredible, Nia whispered. Even the storm doesn't shake her. Mateo nodded. She's showing us how real leadership works, through composure, not authority alone. Zuri glanced at them. Observe, learn. The way you handle crises defines your reputation more than any title ever could. Aftermath, Storm passes. By late night, the storm had passed. The decks were slick, but intact. Guests stepped outside cautiously, astonished by the smooth handling of the entire situation. Vivian, drenched and humiliated, stared at Zuri. How did you make it look so effortless? Zuri smiled faintly. Preparation, presence, and trust in those around you. That is how you lead. Fear and chaos have no place here. The guests, crew, and even the captain exchanged glances, nodding in agreement. Evening recognition. By the time the sun rose the next morning, whispers had spread among guests. She didn't panic once. She handled the storm like she owns the sea itself. That's leadership. The crew gathered quietly, proud and inspired. Zuri stood at the bow of the ship, the ocean calm once more. She looked at the horizon, wind in her hair, steady and unshaken. The storm tested them all, she thought, and it proved one thing. Respect is earned in moments like these. Vivian, somewhere on deck, avoided her gaze, realizing fully that her assumptions about power, authority, and control were shattered. The ocean majesty sailed on, a symbol of calm, control, and quiet dominance, just like its owner. The morning sun stretched across the horizon, painting the waves gold and silver. The ocean majesty glided smoothly, seemingly untouched by the storms and tensions of the past days. For Zuri Daniels, the ship was more than a luxury vessel. It was a testament to her vision, leadership, and quiet dominance. First-class lounge, final recognition. Vivian Devereaux sat stiffly, her face a mix of grudging respect and lingering frustration. All attempts to challenge Zuri had failed. Each public humiliation, every subtle sabotage, had been met with calm, precise authority. Zuri walked into the lounge, effortlessly elegant, her presence immediately commanding attention. Guests instinctively straightened, whispered quietly, and watched her with admiration. Vivian finally found her voice. I understand now, she admitted, her tone reluctant but sincere. You aren't just staff, you're the owner, and you've earned everyone's respect. Zuri's gaze met hers. Calm, steady, yet carrying the weight of all the challenges faced. Thank you for acknowledging that. Zuri said softly, respect isn't demanded, it's demonstrated, and it's earned, quietly, consistently, and fairly. Vivian exhaled, realizing the truth she'd been avoiding. Power wasn't about shouting, entitlement, or appearances. It was about composure, action, and integrity. Crew lounge, celebration of trust. Below deck, Mateo, Nia, and Lana shared a rare moment of relaxation. She handled the storm, the gala, and Vivian's antics without breaking a sweat. Mateo said, I've never seen anything like it. Nia smiled. It's not just handling the ship. It's how she commands respect, inspires confidence, and makes people trust her instinctively. Lana added, I think every passenger on board knows it now, and the crew definitely does. Zuri joined them quietly, nodding. Leadership is not about being noticed. It's about noticing what matters and guiding others through it. They all nodded in understanding, feeling the weight of her words. The bridge, quiet authority. Zuri stepped onto the bridge, watching the vast, endless ocean. Captain Hernandez glanced at her. The passengers are talking, ma'am. Everyone is in awe. Your authority is unmistakable. Zuri smiled faintly. Authority isn't shown with words or titles. It's shown with presence, preparation, and integrity. Let them talk. Let them respect it naturally. The captain nodded. I'll make sure the crew remembers that for every storm, every challenge. Zuri's gaze drifted to the horizon, where the sun's reflection danced across the waves. Calm, steady, unshakable. Passenger acknowledgement. Throughout the morning, guests approached subtly, offering compliments, admiration, and even apologies for misjudgments. I assumed she was just staff. How wrong I was. I've never seen someone manage so much, so calmly. She owns this ship, and she owns respect too. Even Vivian, who had tried repeatedly to undermine her, stepped aside, silently observing as others acknowledged Zuri's influence. The lesson was clear. Leadership didn't require force, entitlement, or loud declarations. It required quiet mastery, calm decisiveness, and integrity, all embodied by Zuri Daniels. Deck, reflection, and legacy. Zuri stepped onto the upper deck, the wind ruffling her hair as she looked out across the open ocean. The waves sparkled like glass, reflecting the morning light, a mirror to her calm and steady nature. She took a deep breath, the cool sea air filling her lungs. Every challenge revealed character. Every confrontation tested resolve. Every storm, literal or metaphorical, proved who was truly in control. Passengers and crew alike had learned an invaluable lesson. Respect is earned, not assumed. And true authority doesn't shout. It simply exists, calm and unyielding, until the world recognizes it. Closing moment. A quiet smile. Zuri watched the ship glide across the ocean, perfectly balanced, every detail under control. She thought of the journey, the challenges, the storms, the subtle battles fought and won. A small smile touched her lips. The ocean majesty was more than a ship. It was a reflection of her leadership, her vision, and her unwavering presence. Vivian, observing from a distance, finally understood. The world had shifted, subtly but undeniably. Power didn't belong to the loudest voice or the richest title. It belonged to the calm, the composed, the prepared. And Zuri Daniels acclaimed it, quietly, elegantly, and forever. Closing narration, voiceover friendly. Sometimes the strongest force is silent. Sometimes leadership isn't demanded, it's observed. And sometimes the person you least expect to hold power quietly shapes everything around them. Zuri Daniels didn't just own the ocean majesty. She owned respect, trust, and the quiet hearts of everyone aboard. And that is true authority.